Am I the asshole for refusing to let my family move in because my 16-year-old son doesn't want them to? About 5 years ago, my husband cheated on me and then abandoned our family.
It was an incredibly difficult time.
I was left alone to raise our son, who was just 11 at the time. None of my family members offered any help or support. We were essentially on our own.
The only person who helped us was my father, who was a great support system both emotionally and financially. When my father passed away 2 years ago, he left me a significant inheritance. This money allowed me to buy a house and provide a stable and comfortable life for my son and me.
Since my husband left, my son and I have become very close.
We've been through a lot together, and our bond is incredibly strong.
I would do anything for him. Recently, some of my extended family members have fallen on hard times and asked if they could move in with us. Given our history, I was initially hesitant. I discussed it with my son, and he was very much against the idea.
He remembers how nobody was there for us when we needed them the most and feels strongly that they shouldn't benefit from our home now.
Understanding his feelings and valuing his comfort, I decided to tell my family that they couldn't move in with us. Now, they're upset and accusing me of being selfish and ungrateful. They say that I owe them support because we're family. I don't think I'm an asshole and honestly don't care what they think as long as my baby is happy, but I still want to hear other people's opinions.
So, am I the asshole for refusing to let my family move in because my son doesn't want them to, especially considering the way they treated us when we were the ones in need?
Not the asshole. None of my family members offered any help or support. We were essentially on our own.
Some of my extended family members have fallen on hard times and asked if they could move in with us.
I would feel just the same as your son.
They're upset and accusing me of being selfish and ungrateful. They say that I owe them support because we're family.
I'm quite happy to do exactly what you did for us when we needed support.
They say that I owe them support because we're family. Now that's fascinating to hear, since 5 years ago, you needed support, and yet you got absolutely none.
Maybe if they'd helped you and your son back then, he'd feel a lot more positive and want to help them in return.
They made their choice then, they can live with the consequences now.
Nobody is more important than your son. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Where were they when you were down and hurting and needed help?
What about their nephew?
Seriously, they have some balls to dare accuse you of being selfish.
Actually, you know what, they're right. And you have the right to be selfish, for the happiness of you and your son. You were both there for each other when the shit hit the fan and you held strong.
Hold strong now.
If they can't figure it out on their own, like you and your son did, that's not your problem.
If later on, you two find it in your hearts to actually be benevolent to the family that shunned you, kudos.
But don't do it out of guilt or a sense of obligation.
No one owes anyone anything. Wow, that story got me heated because I can personally relate.
Not the asshole, but if you have the nerve to tell them no, then have the nerve to tell them why. If they call you selfish or that you owe them, say, as a single mom, I have a duty to be selfish when it comes to my son's well-being. He is my immediate family and my first priority. You are extended family, family that did not offer to assist us during those tough years when we could have really used the support.
I'm sorry you're in the situation you are, but my son and I are not the solution to your problems.
They say that I owe them support because we're family. That's hilarious. By their own reasoning, then, they aren't family since they refuse to support you.
Screw people who only take and never give back. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole, but you would be if you cited your son as the reason just from the standpoint of not letting him be the target of their ire. Your initial hesitancy stems from your own experiences.
Your son just happened to echo your own feelings.
I think both you and your son have the right impulse. If you hadn't been in need of help and been abandoned by the rest of your family, then their argument might have held water.
However, they've already been tested and found wanting. Am I the asshole for telling my parents they need to learn to live without me? My parents had a lot of kids. They always wanted a big family and were not prepared for how hard that would be. I'm 17 male, the oldest of 10, and my parents have relied on me for so long that I don't remember a time where I wasn't treated like a third adult in the house. My siblings range from 15 down to 4. My parents are still technically able to have more kids too because neither are 40 yet, and it scares me, I won't lie. We already struggle so much with 10 of us, and I know it would be worse if they added more, especially when I'm so close to moving out. In our house we have a boys' room, a girls' room, and our parents' bedroom. We basically all sleep on these tiny-ass bunk beds in order to fit everyone in. Nobody gets brand new clothes at all thrift store for me, and the oldest of my sisters and our younger brothers and sisters get our hand-me-downs. It was expected I would step up by the time I was 5. I had to make mine and my siblings' beds, had to tidy up after younger siblings, had to stop my younger siblings from climbing onto things, and I was also expected to clean the floors. Over time, more chores were added to my list. Helping to cook, babysitting, even when I was too young really, helping with homework, holding siblings' hands when we went grocery shopping so they wouldn't run off. Cleaning the bathrooms. Cleaning both boys' and girls' bedrooms. Tidying up if we were having guests, especially if anyone had friends over. My siblings weren't really given chores. And I was basically doing just as much as my parents around the house. My siblings rely on me for too much. From driving them places to picking them up from places, to giving them permission for stuff. My parents let me give permission where I know they would. They expect me to buy them stuff. They come to me more than our parents, and sometimes come to me after our parents if they don't like what our parents said. They get pissy whenever I try to get them to help out, and our parents won't back me up, so they have never done any kind of chore or helped out at all. They get so mad when I ask, they say I'm not mom and dad, but then they also won't go to mom and dad for this shit most of the time. My parents started freaking out because I'll be 18 in October and they know I plan to move out. I also work part-time, and that gets relied on to help financially, and between that and all I do around the house, it finally dawned on my parents I won't be around in a few more months. They started word vomiting all this on me, and I told them they need to learn to live without me because it's not my job to be the third adult in the house anymore. They told me I'll still be a part of the family and I can't just abandon them. I said I will not support the household after I turn 18 because it won't be my job. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You sound like the Doogers. This really sucks, and I'm sorry that you're in this situation. I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume I can blame Jesus. Your goal is independence. Once you are 18, you can be done. And please wait to get married and have kids. Birth control is not sinful. Timing sex to ovulation does not work. It is not a valid form of birth control. People can still get pregnant that way. My grandma had 7 kids that way. Please do not trap yourself by having babies soon. And do not let your parents tell you that you are hurting your siblings by leaving. That is not true. They hurt your siblings by creating people that they couldn't take care of. In the end, the second oldest is going to have to help out or rebel. This is no longer your problem. Not the asshole, and make sure you have all your papers, license, SS card, passport, birth certificate, etc. safe. Make sure you keep all your email and banking passwords safe and secret. Moving out, stopping paying rent, etc. is 100% natural and normal. It's what millions of people your age do, so don't feel guilty. Not the asshole. Yeah, what they're doing is parentification, and it's not fair to any of you. I'm proud of you for your steadfast determination to get out. I worry that your parents won't suddenly decide to step up and take adequate care of their children and instead lean more heavily on your younger siblings. That doesn't mean you should have to clip your wings and stay homebound, however, but if you can, make sure that all of your siblings know that they don't have to live this way forever. Not the asshole. Hell, it's not your job now. This is called parentification and is a form of abuse. Of course you're sick and tired of it. You never got to be a kid. Move out. Manage boundaries. If your siblings keep coming to you after you move out with questions, etc., bat them back to their actual parents, and on no account let any siblings move in with you. If continuing to pay for stuff for your parents and siblings might affect your own ability to pay rent, eat and run a car, do not provide additional financial support after moving out. Either you don't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Not the asshole, but they are going to try to sabotage your plans. Be extra prepared and very careful. I'd be ready to walk out at midnight on my B-day if I were you. Stop engaging when the subject comes up. Just smile and nod, let them assume whatever they like, then out at 18. Am I the asshole for not having catered vegan food at my wedding? Throwaway in case my friend is on here. I, 27F, got married recently. I invited a friend, 27F, and her partner, and she was excited to come.
They live in another country, a 3.5h flight away, so coming isn't easy or cheap for them. We asked 7 months before the wedding about dietary needs, and she told us her and her partner would need vegan options.
Since my dinner included veggie options, I, wrongly, assumed the caterer could also do vegan ones, but when I asked 1.5 months before the wedding I learned they couldn't. I should have asked earlier. Unfortunately some things came up and delayed our prep.
I informed my friend, saying I was sorry, initially asking her if she had ideas about what we could do. Maybe I was in the wrong there, and then offering to cook something myself or buy something from a supermarket. But the conversation turned quite cold, and the next day she said she decided not to come to the wedding, or to the bachelorette that was happening the following week, even though there was no catering issue there.
She said her decision was final and we could speak after the wedding, as she didn't want to upset me before the day.
After a couple of days I asked if she could help me understand her decision, and she said she found it disrespectful that I didn't have a suitable vegan option for her and her partner so close to the date, even though they told me with plenty of notice.
I felt extremely hurt and blindsided, especially since I feel she didn't give me a chance to find a solution together.
I kinda understand not coming to the wedding, even though I'm vegetarian and attended plenty of weddings that didn't have veggie options, but that's her call, but not skipping the bachelorette, since we could easily have planned for vegan food. Now I'm not sure I want to be her friend anymore.
Am I the asshole? Too long did not read. My friend decided to skip both my bachelorette and my wedding because I didn't have a good enough vegan option for my wedding dinner. I'm not sure I want to be her friend anymore. Am I the asshole?
Edit. Thank you everyone for your perspectives. You helped me see the situation more clearly. Some bits of context. There were no restrictions at our venue for bringing home-cooked, outside food. I genuinely thought a home-cooked meal was a nice option, but I'm seeing that many of you think otherwise. Our dinner was a type of food with a base and toppings, and there was no other type of food available as the caterer specializes in that, but it caters to most people since you can choose the toppings. It worked for our 2 other guests who had restrictions, being gluten-free and nut-free.
I knew for sure it was vegetarian, didn't know they wouldn't want to make a separate vegan batch. I told my friend about this casually over text, while we were discussing the bachelorette. I now see that I probably shouldn't have mentioned it until I could give her a more detailed option.
I thought it would be nice to keep her in the loop and know what she preferred, but I now see how that probably made her feel like a burden, which I'm very sorry about. The caterer had to be booked 10 months in advance, before we asked for restrictions. And when I asked about vegan options, they didn't say they didn't have time to sort one out, just that they flat out didn't offer any. But maybe I should have pushed back harder on that. Some of you are saying I shouldn't have asked for restrictions at all if I couldn't provide them. But we were able to provide for other allergies. Gluten and nuts, just not vegan meals, unfortunately. Overall, I understand that the biggest mistake was clearly leaving it so late to sort it out. The second and most stupid mistake was bringing up supermarket food, when it was never a viable option, and the third mistake was telling my friend about it and asking for her input, as it probably made her feel like a burden. I will now wait and see if she wants to reach out, and take things from there if she does.
Thank you.
I am insanely confused as to how the catering company could provide a vegetarian course but not offer literally anything at all that vegans could eat.
Anyway, not the asshole.
You made every effort to offer alternatives, but your friend was more concerned about the day working for her rather than for the bride and groom.
You are the asshole. You asked about their dietary needs. You told her that you could accommodate her. I have a hard time believing you didn't know the difference between vegetarian and vegan. You should have clearly asked the caterer about vegan options.
Truthfully, if you simply didn't ask her about her dietary needs, I would have ruled different.
I didn't ask any of my wedding guests about their needs. I just had 3 options that were on the wedding invite. So no one was surprised what food would be there. If anyone declined because of the food, I would have had no way of knowing. You should have been more specific and checked with the caterer earlier.
Since they couldn't accommodate your guests, you should have arranged for specific meals for your friend and her partner to be catered by a third party to make up for your mistake. That's on you.
She should have been a little more cooperative and less reactive.
But honestly, it sounds like the bonds of your friendship were weaker than each of you had thought. There doesn't seem to be much real affection or caring about the other in either direction, though there seem to be a lot of excessively hurt feelings at the other's acts or omissions.
You are the asshole. You asked 7 months ahead of time and she responded.
Then you waited until the last minute to try to accommodate their diet and then asked her to help you come up with solutions.
She was a guest. She doesn't need to help you come up with solutions. She was spending time and money to get to your wedding, and your solution to fixing the problem you caused was, I will just pick something up at a grocery store. So this guest was expected to spend more time and money and watch your other guests enjoy their catered meals while she ate some fake chicken nuggets that someone air-fried? Or perhaps a salad as the appetizer and main? You are the asshole for not communicating with your caterer properly and thinking a supermarket-bought food will be at same level as food served by them. Definitely your friends are not beggars that you serve them second-class food while others get better ones. You are the asshole. People don't realize how much money it really takes to be part of their special day. They had to figure out airfare and hotels and transport, and you couldn't even figure out pre-ordering skip the dishes on the day? It was just kind of poor form to ask her to help you figure it out. It's your event, and they've given you all the help, time and money they should have to. Am I the asshole for being distant from friends over their daughter's name?
Update: so everyone's over at the house.
And I mean everyone, both of my friend groups came over.
The friend, D, I sent the screenshot to last night called everyone and they're all furious. Her husband, M, called the former friend, A, and let him know that everyone is cutting ties with him, and that he is to leave me alone. Everyone was under the consensus that while the way they handled the name was an issue, it wasn't a deal breaker since I chose just to remove myself and let it go. However, since he chose to attack me unprovoked, simply for keeping a healthy distance, that's unforgivable. This is entirely their own reaction.
I did not demand they cut ties with him.
However, keep in mind that these are the people closest to me. So when I called D last night, I was simply reaching out for support and to calm down because my knee-jerk reaction was to say, if you want to go low, I'll go lower, which is very out of character for me.
I made it very clear that I was not continuing any contact with A and his wife, but I was not going to dictate their friendships, and love them whether they stay friends with them or not. I, 35F, and am longtime friends with a married couple, 40M, land, 42F. I've been distant since the pandemic when their daughter was born, and they just confronted me about it about an hour ago. I started distancing when the husband started judging me for not making my marriage work. There were extreme reasons I left that I never really broadcast for my children's sake. Some was very public which I addressed, but the rest I kept quiet. But the most recent issue is that I lost a child when I was 18. She was born alive but survived only a few hours. I chose a name for her, that I confided in them, that was very special to me, a play on family names, but appropriate for a very unexpected and traumatic loss. They used the name for their daughter. I would have had no issue with this, but I found out in the Facebook announcement, which brought back some very painful and traumatic memories. I didn't say anything, I don't own the name, but I felt very disrespected that they chose not to even give me a heads up. Especially as many in our friend circle know where they got it and I was put on the spot as far as my reaction. So I just distanced myself from them. Well, about an hour ago I got a message from him that was very angrily worded. Apparently he had been talking to a mutual friend about me and how I've shown no interest in their daughter, and he mentioned that them using the name without a heads up was very painful for me, and that it had put me on the spot because a lot of people had been asking for my reaction. He called me selfish and an asshole for trying to sully their joy with my pain, and making everything about me, and that I should just get over it. She passed years ago. In my opinion, losing a child is something you never truly get over. And I was never rude. I never spoke badly of them or to them. I won't talk about it with anyone. I've just chosen to protect myself and remain distant. I wanted them to enjoy their daughter. They struggled with infertility for years and I am happy for them. It's just painful for me and I felt very disrespected with how they handled it. Am I the asshole? Was I wrong to create distance in a 20-year friendship over this? Or was my reaction reasonable? Info. They used both the first and middle name down to the spelling, the only difference is the last name. The name was a made-up mix of my mom and grandpa's names, and the middle name was my nickname from them as a child. My mom passed when I was a child, and my grandpa who raised me after mom passed 3 months before my daughter did. Should just get over it, she passed years ago. This person is not your friend. Time to distance yourself permanently.
Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. What they did was a little weird, and you have acted appropriately. Not the asshole.
That's just crazy, honestly.
People are so numb.
The fact that you distance yourself shows that you're not trying to make it about you and sully their joy or whatever.
Get rid of them.
Terrible people, I'm sorry that happened to you.
You need to make this distancing a permanent thing.
Telling you to get over your child's death is an absolute deal breaker, and you need to sink that ship fast.
No turning back after that statement. Move on, op. Concentrate on healing. Not the asshole.
Did I read it right that someone told him how you felt?
And now longtime friend has an attitude towards you, though you never told this friend how you felt.
You actually distanced yourself about the judgment towards you and that you should let him know that is the reason.
And it didn't help the situation about learning on FB. Not the asshole.
And he is an asshole in the extreme, from minimizing the pain of your loss and trying to put a time frame on your grief when it will, as you say, never really go away. This isn't how friends are supposed to act. Bad enough to use the name without your permission, but then to follow it up this way?
What a jerk.